And now we can start having a look at what happened with Blender itself. So I'm
Dum,
going to
dum,
take...
dum, dum.
Dum, dum, dum.
Meow, meow, meow. Oh, it's me. Hello, me.
Yeah, it's you. All right, so I'm going to switch this mainly to a screen plus me down here. And if I end up being in the way, then we'll just sort it out. So we've got a scene here that's got a ton of assets in, as you can see. Lots of different floor variations. And this is like my playground in here. When I finished in the playground, I build things up. Like this is a test of all the corridors together before I do anything else. And then it was a matter of making the corridors. And then these ones here, then they're kind of the solidified versions ready for export. Because I don't want to export however many objects. Let's pick a complex one. Like this here. That is 51 objects. That would be, well, 51 draw calls anyway, despite anything else. And we don't want that. We just want one object coming out. So, and that's per material and everything else. So we do need to watch out for things like that. So a couple of the things that Jan had to come in and fix, and these are learning lessons for me as well. I have assumed that if I was above my model like this and I go ahead and highlight, it will select all of the objects. That's what I've been used to. Now, I don't know if it's a bug in the recent version on my particular computer or anything else, but it was leaving stuff behind. So Jan was getting like this piece here with these bottom bits missing. And I'm pretty sure if we have a look at the dead end... No, I've actually missed something there. There you go. So that wasn't a mistake. That's just me being forgetful. And if did you say they might have been on the other side of the wall? Oh, no, it's not. So yeah. Again, it's almost a balance point, and we'll get to a few other things in a bit that... Yes. Mm. It totally did, yeah. And there's some workflow that you can go through, but it ends up being incredibly destructive, and then it's really difficult to carry on working with your project. So let's zoom out a little, undo my deletion there, so I'm not playing around with that. When you're exporting into a game engine, a lot of game engines do backface culling, so they won't render the opposite side of a face. Now you can turn that off. And you can turn it off in most game engines. You can make things double-sided, but then you double the amount of processing that needs to be done for your scene. So in Blender, under your overlays section, you can actually turn on something called face orientation. Now you can turn on backface culling under your viewport shading options. However, whilst that is useful, I prefer a bright color staring me in the face. So under viewport overlays, we've got this face orientation. And if we take a couple of examples, so let's take the T-junction example, which should be that and this selection here. I'm going to press / to isolate these two, and then we can hop between them. Let's focus back in on here. So on here, you can see that we've got all of the pieces, and I've gone diligently through and made sure that various parts of it are all facing the right way. Now, you may be asking yourself, oh, what's going on here? Why is there geometry behind geometry? But if I hide this out of the way, you'll see that that is actually the back wall to that. And the easiest way of making sure that it's the right size and everything is just to have a simple plane behind anything. It's not actually on top. It's not overlapping geometry. Well, I suppose it is a bit higher up, but for the sake of the viewer, it isn't actually overlapping anywhere. It's there, and then we've got this bit at the background, and then we've got another bit here at the foreground. Now, you'll probably notice as we go through, and I'll talk about how things are set up, but things are made with modifiers here to just speed up the overall process. I've got something repeating lots. Well, I'm going to use an array modifier for that, and then I can adjust things very, very quickly. It turns out here having this barrier across the middle probably isn't a good idea. That should probably wrap around, but we're discovering stuff. Yeah. The pillars on the inside of the arches. So these here, these pillars. We're just about to get on to this, because this is what ended up being exported. which is a complete mess. We've got these ones with the normals the wrong way around. We've got these with the normals the wrong way around, and as you can see here, the bits at the bottom were missing. So there's lots of things that went wrong with this that shouldn't have gone wrong. Yeah. Yeah, we can see here. It did. Yes. Now, one of the things that I would love to do during the process of this would be to go round, let's say, okay, this is a bit arduous, but you would select maybe the faces on the bottom of your models, and let's just do that real quick. There's one more left. And then we might expand that selection so that it's also doing the edges. Now, I don't know whether this would be perfect, but just bear with me with that. I'm assuming it will be perfect, and just delete those faces. And then we've got all of this extra geometry completely removed from the scene. However, we've now made modifying these incredibly difficult. And that's kind of the balance act that you have to do when trying to optimize your models. Optimization on one front should be done as you're going, and therefore you kind of make sure that you're not in a position where you've got lots of optimizing to do later on. But I learnt and have learnt several times in this project that if you try and optimize too early, it can cripple your ability to change things over or move things around. Yeah, like I've just done there. A great example here would be if I select this middle bit. Say I wanted to make this room a little less a little less organized and straight and neat, and I wanted to rotate this. Suddenly I've lost that edge that I've deleted. I'm not about to go around and create loads and loads of new geometry. That's actually something that I would need to make sure. They should be able to hear you. Let me just turn that bit up, and they should be able to hear you.
I had muted at one point. I wasn't sure if that was actually the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is we could just remove the floor from these meshes and then bring in the floors separately, because you have different types of floor.
Yes, so the floor could be done completely separately. It's just how we go ahead
and
actually
then we can just do
moving
the
it in.
details with a normal map, that kind of thing.
Yes, in fact, that's one of the things that I do want to do is I want to get all of these floor pieces made and then just make a normal map from them. And all being well, it should work.
And you hear me, Roderick?
Yes, I think they can hear you now.
They're saying you were saying something. Yeah,
it is hearable.
Hooray!
Yeah. That's my fault. I'm just going to try and add. I'm going to add another audio source. This could be dangerous.
Like a ketchup.
Like a ketchup, yeah. For some reason, you're not on my screen at the moment. So whenever I switch to my screen, you might disappear. So let me just grab.
I might disappear.
Yep.
What kind of screen are you playing with? Who gave Mikey a death ray?
Right. It's an audio input capture, isn't it? No, I don't know. I'll make sure desktop audio is turned up so that everybody can hear you. But anyway, if you go ahead and faff around with your geometry before you've actually finished, it then becomes much harder to edit. And oh, look, there's that death ray. I've gone bright red.
And there's also, like, because Mikey was having to do quite a lot of rushing to get this to me, it was easy to spot. Go back to the T-junction you made.
This one,
you gave me, rather. No, the one you gave me.
Yep.
Does anyone spot the extra pillar? Because it confused the poop out of me.
I found out where that came from, by the way, yeah.
I know, I was with you.
No, I actually found out the real reason it was with me. So when I was creating this and moving things around, I put this very close to this set, and I thought I moved all of them out of the way. And one of these, so I'm actually going to grab it now. Yeah. One of those is actually supposed to be with this set of modular pillars that I put together, and this set is not supposed to be here either. So it was supposed to go up like that, and you've ended up with that in there. Then when I've copied this across, I've managed to pull in other bits as well. So again, part of this is me rushing, trying to get everything sorted quickly.
Part of it is the sheer size of the project.
yeah, there are lots of assets to deal with in here, and that is just part of what has to be dealt with. But one of the things that I was not expecting was the complete mess up of this. Some of it is very, very avoidable. That was, as I said before, I was highlighting things like this. Let's pick an object that does have multiple objects, a section that does have multiple objects. And what I'm going to do at this point moving forward is, instead of just leaving them like this, and if I switch over to my outliner, we can see the wonderful naming that's going on here. This really should be in a collection, and maybe it's called walls. Caps
What
lock.
are we looking at?
Don't look. Nothing. There we go.
And there was also things like a doorway that had a bunch of empties in. Like it's very much a work in progress.
Oh yes, I wouldn't have removed any of the things that would necessarily be a mesh, although I can cater for that with code as well. So this might be a collection called walls, arches, and then I don't know what else might you have with it. You might have arches and then cross, because it's a crossroads. So you might do something along those lines, and then it's much easier because when you're exporting, you can keep everything together. And in your outliner, this really messy outliner, because it's also a test file, we have wall, arches, crosses. I can then right click on that and select objects. I can make sure that all of the objects of that collection are selected. I can do it manually like that, but I can also do it in code, which is super useful.